Audi e-tron GT, the RS version. I think this is a dream come true for many a car enthusiast, especially if you own it. And of course, this is fully electric. So, because this is a sports car and it's got two big electric motors which are pretty thirsty as far as energy goes, you've got a lot of batteries down here, about 400 cells, and the usable energy stored in there is around 84 kilowatt hours, which is quite a lot. Now of course you'll need to charge that, so on this side you've got a flap for the charging port. Now this is the slow to medium fast charging port, but if that's not enough, optionally you can also opt for the very fast charging port on the other side, which is 250 kilowatts. So you've got another flap here. But the really interesting thing is, if you wish to charge with this speed, you will need to put in the navigation, you will need to put in the destination on the navigation and tell it that you're going to be fast charging first, because what the car will do, it'll actually heat up the batteries to the optimal temperature for the fast charging, probably to extend the lifetime of the batteries.
It's all about cell life, of course, as lithium batteries are some picky customers regarding temperature, current, and charge state. So, if you're buying an electric car and there's some kind of a battery temperature management system available, I suggest you always choose that option. But back to the Audi now. The sporty car has, despite some rather impressive regenerative braking abilities, the option of standard, carbide, and carbon ceramic brakes. This RS version has carbide brakes as standard, which are rust resistant and apparently produce up to 90% less brake dust. Although with 265 kilowatts of regenerative braking, mechanical brakes most likely won't be used very much. I admit, I've stared at this sexy rear for a little bit. The LEDs are also animated.
Because this is such a sporty design and shape, you'd think that you're not really going to have a lot of space back here, but you'd be wrong. Just like the Porsche Taycan, there's actually a whole lot of space. We have all of our equipment here, and you could still put more in there. There's actually so much space I could probably lie down in there. Quite handy for certain job descriptions.
The interior sports a large digital instrument cluster, which we already know, and an infotainment screen on the dash, also known from other Audi models. I can also tell you something interesting while blindly tapping through the menus here. This car doesn't actually have that much leather, as Audi has decided to incorporate recycled materials, like plastic bottles, into the seats. And now for a surprise. The e-tron GT has kept the physical climate control buttons. Applause. I'll be honest, the actual interior didn't impress me immensely, but that's probably because I was so concentrated on the raw, unbridled power of the pair of electric motors beneath.
So even though, again, this is a preview, it's not a real test of this car, I can tell you a little bit about how it feels, about how it drives. And in many respects, it's really just like a normal car. You've got your steering wheel, seats, you've got your big digital instrument cluster, you've got a infotainment screen over here, and you've got physical buttons down here. The only thing is, you've got this electric motor, which has got a lot of power, a lot of it. So just in case you're stuck in traffic in an intersection, for example, because you've got a motor at the front and at the back, so you've got four-wheel drive pretty much, and all this power, instant torque, there's no problem. Even if traffic is like this, it's very thick, you can still get in just by pressing the gas pedal or the fun pedal. This thing is insane in its acceleration. And you've also got this giant panoramic roof, which is basically just like in the Porsche Taycan, because this is its brother in a way. And yeah, the acceleration is absolutely insane. It takes your breath away if you're not ready for it. Of course, it's different when you're driving it, but if you're a passenger and you're not expecting it, it's quite the shock. A pleasant shock. Depending on how you set up the car to drive, with the drive select, you've got the comfort setting, you've got the dynamic setting, which is basically the sport setting, and you've got the efficiency setting. Now, the interesting thing with the efficiency setting is the fact that if you set it to efficiency, it'll actually disable the motor at the back, so it'll only drive the front wheels, so it's more efficient. Also, what is interesting if you're on efficiency is that it will lower the car because it has air suspension, because lowering the car, of course, makes it a little more efficient aerodynamically. And of course, everyone is looking at this car. Everyone stares, everyone smiles, everyone takes photos because, well, it is a bit of a rare car at the moment, and it really does look very, very good. I was going downhill there, and let me just tell you a little bit about the recuperation mode here. If for some reason Audi has decided not to allow one-pedal driving in this car, which means in electric cars one-pedal driving is you only use the gas pedal, and if you lift off completely you will have full recuperation if you're in B mode, for example. But here that doesn't work, so you will have to use the brakes, but you can also use the paddle shifters by the steering wheel. You've got two settings. If you press the left shifter once, you'll go into setting 1, and press it again, you go into setting 2, which has more recuperation. But that's not even nearly full recuperation possible, because when you press on the brake pedal, you will get something ridiculous, like 340 kilowatts of recuperation. It's just insane braking force. So yeah, that's quite nice, especially when you're going down long stretches of downhills.
You want this e-tron? Me too! But get ready to start saving up. The basic GT version starts at 102,000 euros, while the more sporty RS one comes up to 141,000 euros.